everybody. So, little pop quiz before we start to make sure you're all awake. Because some of you are very late, and I know those faces. This building, Liberty Hall, is connected to the 100th year anniversary of what major event in trade union history?
1913.
Yay! Little clue, the Dublin lockout. Yeah, very good. Okay. So 1913 saw the most severe and significant industrial dispute to take place in Irish history, involving 20,000 workers and 30,000 employers across the city of Dublin, as some of the poorest workers fought for the right to unionise. Work in general was of a casual nature, and a third of the city's teeming population inhabited the city centre tenement slums. The overcrowding, squalor and inadequate sanitation combined with poor diet to give Dublin one of the highest infant death rates in Europe, with the rate being around 142 per 1,000 live births. Women fared even worse than men in terms of employment at that time. While the average labourer's wage was less than £1 a week, the average female earned about half of that. Most women who worked were in domestic service in the homes of the wealthy. Other jobs available to them were seamstress, tail races and charwomen, so not a lot of advantages for them. This forced them into prostitution in an area called the Monto. Are you guys familiar with the Monto? It's the north of the city. We knew about that, so we skipped that one this year. There's plenty of other stuff to find out. So poverty forced many of these women into this situation. It was the only way to get the money that they badly needed. Sackville Street, which is now called O'Connell Street, and Grafton Street, south, were notorious areas for prostitutes. Indeed, the custom in Sackville Street was that one side of the street was for respectable people and the other for prostitutes. Now, I'm not sure which side Ann Summers decided to have their shop on, but maybe you pay a little more attention when you're walking down O'Connell Street in the future. What side are you walking on? A girl of a tenement family was therefore forced to grow up quickly and was often the surrogate mother to her younger brothers and sisters, all of whom usually shared the same one-room apartment in a tenement building. Trade unions in Dublin were weak at that time. Jim Larkin's Irish Transport and General Workers Union had been founded in 1909 and sought to change society in the interest of the Irish working class. However, the employers of Dublin would not go down without a fight, and led by William Martin Murphy. Now every time we hear this name, we're going to say, boo! Everybody? Boo! He was the owner of the Irish Independent and controller of Dublin Tramways Company, as well as 400 other employers combined in the Dublin Employers Federation, denied the right to trade union organisation to the exploited workers of Dublin. Murphy told the workers in August of that year it was their union or their job, and those who remained in their union were promptly dismissed. The dispute escalated with dismissals on trams and at Easons. Any worker who refused to sign a pledge disowning the ITTW were locked out of work, and by September 20,000 workers were locked out. So a little pause, also to check that you're all still listening. What does Liberty Hall and this pack of biscuits have in common, anybody know?
Jacob.
Yeah, very good. And there was a certain individual that was renowned in Jacob's factory as a founding member of the IWW, the Irish Women's Workers Union, and her name rhymes with Packet. And he gets Haggis! Biscuits for those people! Do you want to pass them on and share them? Well done. Oh yeah, thank you. So the dispute hit Jacobs in September, following workers wearing the IWW badge. 310 of those women were locked out within 1 week. The Irish Women's Workers Union have been founded by Delia Larkin, who was Jim Larkin's sister. Yesterday we have Jim Larkin, he's been here for quite a long time, as you all know. Yesterday this plaque was unveiled to commemorate the IWW of 100 years since they were established in 2013. About time. Police baton charged public meetings at that time, including the union meetings, and people died as a result of the violent injuries inflicted upon them. So one of the people that died was a woman called Alice Brady. She was part of a group throwing some coals during a strike. She was shot in the arm and later sadly died of her injuries. Another woman that was on strike and got involved in I think she physically assaulted a strike breaker, was arrested She was 15, it was found out she was too young to be put in the women's prison, so they chucked her into the Magdalen laundries because they reckoned everybody in there was part of the same immoral fabric. That was the wonderful thinking at the time. So at that stage with these examples, everybody was pretty much cleared up for a long, starving winter. And as James Connolly shut down the Dublin port, the workers began to defend themselves, having formed the Irish Citizen Army. Eventually, the employers won out by the ITGWU, they survived. However, women, including the names that I just listed there, were actually left out of this story. We're going to see if I can peel this page apart. The dispute brought more women in touch with the labour movement. Madeleine French-Mullen, Countess de Markovitz and Fiona Plunkett were included amongst other women who assisted in the soup kitchen and took part in food distribution in Connolly's free food organisation set up for the strikers and their families. Your free biscuits are part of the commemoration of free food. Countess Markovitz established soup kitchens out of her own pocket to feed the families of the locked out workers. James Larkin went to England at one stage while Delia took charge of Liberty Hall, where she organised the feeding of thousands of workers locked out from their families. This involved daily breakfast for 3,000 children, lunches, as well as distributing other necessities such as clothing. However, as the months went on, the lockout took its toll on families. A plan to send workers' children to England was opposed by the Archbishop of the time, who thought the Catholic children would be sent to the homes of atheists and socialists. Delia ended up in a standoff after another plan to send the children's workers to Belfast by train, before she was eventually compelled to retrace her steps here to Liberty Hall with the children. Oh God. The Archbishop of Dublin, another William, was strongly opposed because he believed the fate of Catholic children might be at risk in non-Catholic families. He declared that their mothers would no longer be worthy of the name Catholic if they so far forgot their duty as to send away their little children to be cared for in a strange land. Not as strange as Catholic Ireland, I'd say. Catholic priests and comfortable middle-class people picketed the ships that were to take the children to England. There were clashes at the docks when children started to board. More than any other event in the dispute, this caused the highest emotions, as you can imagine. The lockout continued until February 1914, and with 400 of her union members not reinstated, the Union Drama Group began to tour with a troupe consisting of the locked out members. It was during this time that many women joined the Irish Citizen Army and went on to fight in the 1916 Rising. The Irish Citizen Army was the first Irish army to admit women to its ranks and give them equal status. According to James Connolly's daughter Nora, her father constantly said that no movement was assured of success that had not women in it. Yay! James Connolly also wrote, "Win the women to your cause and your cause is secure." When some of the men complained that the women's section would be an encumbrance in the event of an uprising, James Connolly responded that if none of the men turned out, the fight would go on with the women. In the early months of 1916, the basement of Liberty Hall here was in fact turned into a munitions works with scores of women and girls working for the cause. This morning, men and women came together to sew sections of the tapestry that will commemorate the 100th year anniversary of the Dublin lockout. That'll be on display later on in the year. That concludes the part of your tour here at Liberty Hall. Thanks for your attention and